Hi there. Welcome to another episode, and this time an English one on our Meta25 YouTube channel and our podcast. My name is Johannes. I'm a board member of Meta25 in Germany. And today we're going to speak about Antifa means Free Palestine and a certain protest that is going to happen this Saturday in Leipzig. And of course, try to clear up, because there's a lot of confusion, especially online, about where the lines of conflict actually lay, why this protest is happening, what's the situation on the ground. And therefore, I'm really happy that I have two guests in this episode. One of them will stay anonymous because he is actually living in Connewitz in Leipzig. He's active for Palestine in the Palestine Solidarity movement locally in Connewitz. And that's not the most easiest thing to these days. You get attacked by certain people, or you are in danger to get attacked by certain people. That's why this guest will stay anonymous. We are still, of course, very happy that he's with us, and you will hear from him in a second. And the second guest we have, and also really happy to have her again on the channel. Some viewers might still know her from the episode we did that was called Germany's Pro-Israel Left. What the fuck are you doing? That one was a good one. It had quite some views. So also, if you don't know it, I recommend to search it on the channel. And we will also link it in the description so you can rewatch it. Now we are back with Yuval from Jewish Israeli Dissent in Leipzig. She's an activist living in Leipzig for 6 years. Welcome, Yuval.
Hi, good to be here again. Excited
Yeah.
we're doing this.
Yes, me too. Although, the situation is tense.
Circumstances, of course.
Yes.
Best episode will be when Connewitz as well as Palestine is free.
Exactly. Free Connewitz.
That might still take a while, I believe.
Yeah.
Revolution takes time. It's true.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're working on it. And you are also working on it actually locally in Connewitz. Could you let us know a bit on how the situation is, why the demonstration is happening locally in Connewitz? And I would start with you, our anonymous guest, friend and comrade.
Yeah. First of all, I want to greet you. I didn't do it till now, so now I'm greeting you. And the reason we are protesting, when you look into the newspapers, one of them titled leftists protesting against leftists, and I believe people who are familiar to this topic will get confused. So I believe I have to explain a little bit. So what is Connewitz? Connewitz is a district in the southern parts of Leipzig, and it's very well known in Germany because it's like the symbol of Antifa. So whenever like a Nazi or like some other right-wing person thinks of Antifa and graffitis and so on, he will probably think of Leipzig Connewitz. And that is good and all, but there's one big problem with Connewitz, and that is there's I would say the hegemony of the Antideutsche scene. And the Antideutsche, in English it's anti-Germans. It's a very strange phenomenon here in Germany. They are radical leftists who are very unconditionally show their solidarity with Israel. And of course, in the last 2 years, things have escalated more. And these people are supporting Israel's genocide in Palestine. And in Connewitz, especially, it's when you are showing solidarity with the people of Palestine who are being murdered in the thousands, you will get problems if you do that openly. The most prominent example is when you walk around Connewitz with a kufiya. That might result in problems. You might just get insulted, which is not nice. You can also get beaten up by people who call themselves Antifa, like who very proud of themselves, who believe they are fighting fascism, but they beat up people who are showing solidarity with Palestine. And things have escalated a little bit in the last few months. me and some other people, we believe that the time for talk is over, a little bit radically put. And now we're doing a protest on the 17th of January, where we want to show Antifa means free Palestine.
Thanks for that summary. That's happening. It starts in Connewitzer Kreuz, as far as I know. So, if anyone out there still wants to join, you're very welcome in Leipzig on Saturday to, show that Antifa actually means free Palestine. Yuval, you probably also had your experiences. I mean, you're now wearing a keffiyeh, so you might have had your experiences in Connewitz as well. I don't know. Please let us know. Let us know about why you think this protest is necessary.
Well, I have so much to say. When it comes to Connewitz, it's really one of the first times before I even moved to Leipzig. I visited my friend here and she took me to Connewitz. And it was like, wow. It was, so inspiring, really, to see the fabric of the people, the alternative clothing, the very unapologetic, radical politics that express also on people's clothes. Like, so people that, I kind of like to dress as well as them, but I got, bullied in high school. So this is like to see this, environment and feeling very welcomed also. It was beautiful. But then, of course, until I find out or realize, go into the inner discourse of the radical aesthetics, what stands behind it. And I remember the first time that I wore a keffiyeh in Connewitz. It was quite surreal. I mean, I'm not a person who really mind being stared at, I guess, but like it was really interesting to kind of people watch just while I walk. And I remember uploading to my Instagram, like walked with a keffiyeh in Connewitz, survived to tell. So like personally, I didn't experience in Connewitz anything, but the hostility and the kind of like cultural domination of Antideutsche is felt all around Leipzig. So you've got other house projects in Südvorstadt, in Reudnitz. You've got different places that are very culturally significant to the city. But then you would go in and you would see, the Israeli flag, or different, Antideutsche, pro-Israel kind of dog whistles, or anti-Palestinian sentiment. So I definitely have a lot to say when it comes to the demonstration at the 17th. To be honest, at the beginning, it wasn't like an automatic, yes, for sure, let's go. Because, and this is, understood with myself and we understood with ourselves. Because at the beginning, you're thinking protest the right thing to do. And then you realize that you think we doubt that because of how violent Antideutsche actually are. And that comes from, genuine stress and fear of what's going to happen, because like the Antideutsche and the sphere of the so-called activists, they're backed by the silence of the local politician. Yeah, you can feel it. It's but then it definitely escalated and people started to mobilize, and so fascinating and interesting to see how far actually this demonstration call has reached, and how also as well as political, but it seems like it touches a lot of personal sentiment for a lot of activists and a lot of leftists, a lot of anti-fascists in Germany, and their kind of journey of disillusionment from Antideutsche gegen jeden Antisemitismus kind of indoctrination. Yeah.
Thanks. I think what is also important, because when you see now that part of the left, also Die Linke, although of course some people would say, no, those are not leftists, but they're still somehow declare themselves at least leftist, that now say that there's this leftist area of Leipzig, and now they would call us, or sometimes are calling us, this kind of reactionary forces that come to our leftist space and want to suppress us or put violence against us. What I think in this context, it would also be important to speak about how the demonstration actually came to be, because it wasn't planned as a demonstration that also gets mobilized from outside Leipzig and so on. How did it start? Could you also elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. The start of the idea of doing a protest in Connewitz was after the last attack on people wearing keffiyehs. When we met and we talked about, well, maybe we should do a demonstration, because in the past there were attempts to do like a really, I don't want to be mean to the people who had some like a harmless events like that were supposed to like create harmony in the in Connewitz. But then after the last attack, we were just like, this has to stop. It is just ridiculous. Like if people were beat up for any other reason, I don't know, if a Nazi beat up leftists for wearing a Antifa t-shirt or any other case, nobody would question that it is legitimate to hold a protest. But when you say there are ultra-reactionary Antideutsche in the disguise of leftist costume, so to say, who are beating up pro-Palestinian activists, well, then it's like, no, you can't do that. Like, you are destroying like the unity in the left scene in Leipzig or whatever. I actually don't believe it. And when we searched for more allies, because we thought we need more people who spread the advertisement for the demonstration. And then we came to the idea that we should also protest against the more part of the bureaucracy against this anti-Deutsch scene in Connewitz, because it is not just like I think you can call them hooligans, like like a 30 to 40-year-old drunk males beating up like teenagers with keffiyehs. It is also like this whole class of politicians and locations that are supporting this weird ideology. Yeah, for example, like Die Linke, the left, which is, I would say, social democratic party, and not the largest, but like the most leftist party that is sort of relevant. And here in Leipzig, very controlled by the Antideutsche. You could like a relevant parts of our party here in Leipzig are like in the hands of these Antideutsche, and are using it to enforce solidarity with Israel at any cost. So like if you wanna, perhaps you want to have a place where you can meet, where you can plan a demonstration for. They should find out that you don't respect of Israel to exist or whatever. When you get kicked out, there are nightclubs, like the Corner Island, like the name says, also in Connewitz, which is notorious that if you wear a keffiyeh, that you get kicked out. In the Corner Island, there were also like we have this little newspaper, and in the newspaper there were advertisement for the volunteer program of the Israeli military, where it said, "Hey, come to Israel, join the IDF." And we also had like lectures by some weird people who are saying like AfD, like the German right-wing far-right party, is the only logical party to support, because they are against Muslims, and Muslims are all anti-Semitic. So we as Antideutsche have to support AfD. that are also some positions that are common here in Connewitz. Not all of the Antideutsche are having mass positions. Think you have to say honestly, but these positions exist, and the criticism of these from the other Antideutsche seems to be rare.
Thanks, especially this part about the to have an announcement to go to the Israeli military is pretty crazy.
I'm just gonna, if that's okay, I have like a couple of things kind of add, but also to make it a bit more clear when it comes to Coney Island specifically and their call people to join the IDF. That was years ago, but that was, just to reiterate, that kind of absurdity of the fetishization of like Antideutsche and their support for the IDF is that you cannot go and just like serve in the in the IOF, right? You can't just, because you need to be Jewish. There was this guy also from Halle last year who went and protested outside of some IDF military base because he wanted to enlist somebody from Halle. And it like created a bit of a buzz. But what I wanted to say is that the role or this like organization that Coney Island called to volunteering, it's an organization that supports IDF by like, you would make them sandwiches. Like you would, you would do something like this kind of to support the powers of, so it's not anything that is a real fight or anything, but this is kind of like part of the absurdity of like make sandwiches to war criminals. Also, just because we say a lot of Antideutsche, because this is the theme of this conversation, there's also a lot of people that call them Ultradeutsche or Megadeutsch, because even call them Antideutsche is like, yes, we will continue to use it for the sake of comfort. But, on what you basically said, you did connect their agreements basically with the state on different fronts. So they're not Antideutsche, they're actually Ultradeutsche, because they do agree with the state on so many things, whether it's the Islamophobia of the state, whether the xenophobia of the state, whether it's the Stadträson, it's endless support, and Germany's endless support for Israel. You cannot really even call yourself anti-Deutsch because you obviously agree with with the very foundational cores of German identity, of how it's, designed to be today, which is inherently in connection to Israel. So I just wanted to kind of have that also on record when it comes to the connections to all those different policies, that it's very easy to get confused when you see somebody with like anarchy or something on their t-shirt, but then they support the state.
Yeah. So I think it's good also to go a bit into the institutions that they also actually support and work with, and how this is actually laid out with the Israeli lobby organizations that work in Germany and so on, that also work with the people locally in a so-called very left area. So I think it would be good to also add a bit of context to that, if you can, to make it a bit more, maybe try to clear, because it's of course confusing to anyone who hasn't read or heard about this kind of particular lines of conflict and how people label themselves, and to make it a bit more clear on whom they're actually working with, both party-wise but also other organizations. I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I believe it would be smart to start with a historical background of the Antideutsche movement, because I think that clears a lot of things up. So the Antideutsche ideology emerged in the 90s. I think we all know that Germany was split into two parts after World War II, and in 1990, the reunification happened, and that sparked other countries, but also in parts of Germany, that sparked the fear of that a Fourth Reich would be created. Of course, that didn't happen, but there was the fear, and it actually the 90s were a time when Nazis were roaming around, especially in East Germany. In German, we call it Baseballschlägerjahre, so baseball bad years. They could pretty much beat people up, beat migrants up, beat leftists up. There were many programs where the buildings where migrants live were burned down. And this was this sort of political climate where seemed to be a lot of national belief in national supremacy again in Germany left the creation of the Antideutsche ideology. So they say that the German people in their essence are responsible for what happened in Nazi Germany, and this element sort of never disappeared. So Germany needs to be abolished. And this ideology really became a big part of the German leftist scene in the 90s and the 2000s. And of course, after that, it became scarcer. So they struggled to find new recruits, but they are still established, so to say, in many institutions, the local division of the left, Die Linke in Leipzig. Yeah.
Thanks. And maybe Yuval, you can add something about the local work that they're actually doing with reactionary or even organizations that support that are Israeli organizations, genocide supporting organizations. I think that would also be helpful.
So basically, there's just a lot of, wherever, I don't have the statistics in front of me to be fair. A lot of the time, the people, the so-called experts who are invited to speak in so-called anti-Semitism, 7th of October, some kind of have ties to DIG, the Deutsche Israelische Gesellschaft, the German-Israeli society, and they also work with Amadeo Stiftung. I forgot the full name, but
Deo Antonio Stiftung.
Antonio, Mr. Antonio. Yeah, and they also, of course, very much the financial backbone to the concept of anti-Semitism commissioners. The concept is very much funded by Deutsche Israelische Gesellschaft. It's supposed to be this objective role within institutions to make sure there's no anti-Semitism or somebody that can keep an eye. But basically what is happening is that, first of all, it becomes the power of what is anti-Semitism is given to institutions and not to people, let alone Jewish people. But also it gives the kind of inherent connection that the IRA definition of anti-Semitism that ties Israel and anti-Semitism together. Israel and basically that criticism of Israel because it represents the Jewish collective, that equalizes Jews and Israel. That's what I wanted to say before. There is definitely a lot of connection between Israel and anti-Semitism, let me tell you. Basically, a lot of it that within the concept of kind of alternative NGOing, that is very common, the left spheres. those kind of initiatives that will do events in Linksnet. These kind of initiatives that would do...
Linksnet is a local store, right?
Sorry, yeah,
Maybe for
Linksnet
those.
is the Connewitz local, I guess the Linke Center. Funny enough, I have this core memory, like first time coming to Connewitz and then stumbling, oh, this place looks cool. And I came in, like, don't remember who I spoke with, but it was like, she gave me a tour. Sad thing. I want to like kind of emphasize how suck this whole situation is, if that's okay. I don't think any of us want to be like doing that. Yeah, what do you mean the local Antifa is not against genocide or cannot recognize genocide when it happens with their money? No matter how self-sustained, taxes they pay, right? So it is quite frustrating. Because it creates this discourse of the left is infighting. No, like the collective who organizes the demonstration, like posted a list from October, of like a long list of the different attacks and different like whether it was, verbal or physical, or also before October. Of course, there was so many, but like since October, in October, there was also the so-called ceasefire. Since the ceasefire, more than 400 people were killed in Gaza, more than 100 like children. I just read to, I think we really need to remember the weight is it that the disagreement is on, because it's not like, oh, let's just get along. And I also very much with the wish that we could get along, but we cannot get along if you cannot recognize genocide happening in front of your eye, and if you cannot shed away the the white saviorism that is very much connected to white supremacy, which in the end, this is the position, the German in quote, like supremacy of the Antideutsche, of like, oh, let us tell you what anti-Semitism is. Let us tell you what genocide is, or not genocide is, when they hardly also recognize that, like, the first genocide that they did before, like, they came to my people. This is part of the, like, supremacy, approach to, I think, is of color, voices that actually challenges the status quo of where they are. I'm really interested. Oh, go to the psyche of, what is East, be left, etc., etc. I think different to a few years ago, what was so wholesome for me, and I know for so many people, is that you're not a traitor for being a leftist. Left is part of the political fabric, the very understandable political fabric of Germany as a democracy, etc., etc. Have those like radical leftist, ideologies, and that it's some kind of it's accepted and it's understood, and which is very, very different to where I come from, which is Tel Aviv. And even within Tel Aviv, the so-called, the secular blah, blah, blah. I mean, being a leftist is no safe, no fun games or not, obviously. And because it's a fascist society, because it's a fascist state, which also brings me back, if that's okay, continuing my ramble, because this is, I'm also, in American studies, to be honest, getting to know the empire, getting to know the people that are making decisions for me and my fellow Palestinians to, who is going to wake up tomorrow morning. And so within the research that I did on some Hausarbeit, I came across the Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook, that was written by Mark Bray. This is a story from 2003. Which hopefully won't take me so long to read, but it's just to kind of show that nothing of it is new, and the patterns that we cannot fall into anymore. This is from Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. An Argentine anarchist named Louis, who arrived in Göttingen, this is not Leipzig, okay? In Göttingen in 2003, was eager to join the legendary AAM. that turned out to be more complicated than expected. At the time, German anti-fascism was swept up in debate over the Zionist Antideutsche position that had emerged with the reunification and grown in intensity by the end of the 90s. The Antideutschen argued, given the historical legacy of the Holocaust, German anti-fascists were obliged to nearly unwavering support for Israel. The pro-American stand of the Antideutsche solidified after 9/11 and support for the invasion of Iraq in 2003. That's absolutely insane. I believe the German left let pro-war for that long of a time. That is wild to me. That's one. Because we're also, even if we're using the most simple, whitewashed word of war, it's kind of like anti-war. I think I said it in the last episode. It's just like the most fucking basic thing. Be anti-war. Live. Unless it's class war. Anyway. Solidified on 9/11, support of the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Louis' grandparents were German Jews who fled the Nazis in 1930s, but he maintained a strongly anti-Zionist positions. Therefore, he was recruited by the anti-Zionist and the imperialist faction of AAM. Yet, tensions had escalated so completely within the group that neither faction would approve the admittance of someone sympathetic the other side. The Antideutsche blocked Louis. This conflict led to the split of the AAM in 2004. Louis joined a new group by the anti-imperialist branch called Antifaschiste Linke International, which still exists. What I'm trying to say in this story that the pattern of absolutely disregarding Jewish voices that doesn't align with the Zionist narrative is nothing new within the left. The occupation existed before the 7th of October, and darlings, this is not us splitting the left. This is also a star. He very much wanted to join, right? He saw that and there was this aura around this legendary German Antifa just to be, completely disregarded. The moral of the story, and maybe this is just common sense to a lot of people, but how wild it is that the one, a lot of books about Antifa came out, but this is Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. This is gonna be a book that will lead generations, I think, of anti-fascists. And this is your representation? You're still that? How lazy.
Exactly. How lazy. On Saturday, the motto is going to be Antifa means Free Palestine. The other motto could be Antideutsche actually means to be against the German state and against its support for the Israeli colonial project, right? But that's another matter. We don't have to fight over the term of Antideutsche, since we don't want to claim that. But Antifa, very much, I think it's really important that you're doing this demonstration and that you state this loud and clearly. I would like to ask you to end. What do you expect, ideally, to the demonstration to achieve as a small step, of course, in a longer process? Or like you've already just said, Yuval, how important it is to, after so many years, we talked about the 90s, now 2003, we are in 2026. What ideally will the demonstration achieve? From your point of view, if you can dream?
Well, I think the way to the demonstration has already achieved a goal that is very important, I believe, that to show that these people, the Antideutsche, are very subservient to the German state. I think it becomes very clear when you look at the lineup for the counter-protests that have been announced. So what you have there is all the reactionary parties that there are in Germany, almost all of them have called the counter-protests. You have the Social Democrats, you have the Greens, the FDP, the liberals, like who are
The
so much pro
FDP,
capita. FDP, I don't know if you know Caroline Preisler. I think it's like
unfortunately, have met her on the streets. Yeah.
yeah, well, a very prominent figure in the Zionist movement in Germany. Like she also called to save Connewitz from people who are against genocide. And yeah, also like I think we already talked about it, Deutsch-Israelische Gesellschaft, German-Israeli society, which is very close to the conservative, to far-right CDU. And I believe there's also like a famous German newspaper, Bild, which is, I don't even know up to this point how to characterize it. I would call it far-right, or conservative or whatever.
Yeah, that is wild. That is absolutely wild that they let themselves be on the same flyer, the same call as Bild. That is really telling.
Bild,
I mean,
it's
like
with the logo there. No,
I think no, Bild not the
that they're
same
mobilizing.
called. Yeah, they wrote an article where it's basically like, oh, these are the good leftists, and there are like the pro-Palestine leftists who are against the state of reason. Yeah, and I think what I wanted to say is with the way to the demonstrations already shown with where the fronts are. Basically, like it will be people who are in a real opposition to the German state, to the German support for the genocide in Palestine, versus the whole German reaction united. And I believe if you're a so-called anti-fascist district or whatever, needs to be defended by conservatives from CDU and SPD, like who are deporting immigrants en masse, like we want to say. I don't really know if that is a crowd that I willingly would call to counter-protest.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's something already achieved. One should also, I think it is even more clear, maybe in a short social media video. Probably someone has on who's actually the counterforce here and where the lines are. Yuval, would you dream of for Saturday?
Saturday, I mean, I definitely
And
know
beyond.
that there's gonna be great speakers and music, which is great. I think I don't really know what to expect, but I hope that the voices and kind of the sentimental, at least online, that I see would translate itself to the streets, which is where we need more than ever. Yeah, I know already of some people from Berlin and from Jüdische Stimme. As I said before, I think it touched really a lot of like kind of sentimental, personal identity kind of point in a lot of Germans and people's journey with Palestine, because Palestine changes people. Because the last 2.5 years and that living and witnessing genocide changes people. So I think it touches on something that is more than different political stance. And it's quite fascinating and interesting and also quite empowering in the sense of, you just don't feel like you're the wrong kind of leftist or like I know of so many people, because they've spoken to me and shared with me throughout the years, of how much they had to second guess themselves when it comes to Palestine because of the peer pressure, because of the social pressure they have been brought up with, not only like brought up with in school and stuff, but politically, because the kind of structures of anti-Ds is what kind of welcomes a lot of teenagers to the left. This is what's cool. It's quite it's interesting just to see, and it's quite reassuring also to see, as always, how much our voices when it comes to anti-Zionist Jews, anti-Zionist Israelis, like they are welcomed within the movement and they are, here to stay. It's great. So I'd rather, I don't know what to expect, but I'd rather be excited. And I hope people, more than anything, if there's something that I wish, this is very utopic, but like, if there's something for a wish to the so-called other side, just listen. Absolutely fact. Take it home, take it home, sit with yourselves, please. Because this demonstration came out of frustration, came out of pain, came out of actually being terrorized every second day while you're walking down the street with, as like wearing symbols or expressing, Palestinian solidarity in times of genocide. So it's not, I wrong. That's what I'm saying. Which I also, like, maybe it's not that deep. But then I was like, revolution is messy. It's part of it. So I will just be in solidarity with my fellow kafia wearing.
Yeah, thank you. Resistance is also existence, right? I think as someone that also had to, because I mean, in my upbringing in a German village somewhere around Kassel, I didn't get a lot of the information to understand what's, for example, happening in Palestine, and also quite a lot of propaganda. So over the years, I had to inform myself and with that free myself from certain ideologies that you can also summarize maybe under Antideutsche or better under Ultradeutsche, a bit more. Yeah. Thank you for the time that you shared with us and all the knowledge and infos and insights. Thank you for the work that you're doing for the demonstration on Saturday. Anything else that you want to
kind of promote, if that's okay,
yes,
statement, one of the latest statements of the Lemkin Institute, which is directly connected to German civil society organizations. Statement on the role of civil society organization in sustaining German genocide denial. So I think this is like a very important thing that I would like to direct people to. Lemkin Institute is the Institute for Genocide Prevention, site studies and stuff. And just remember why we're doing this, and hopefully see you all on the street of Connewitz and Leipzig.
Yes.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, what I still wanted to say, my honest hope for the demonstration on Saturday is that the pro-Palestinian movement in Germany is empowered after this demonstration, where confidence will become stronger. That way, the movement will have the courage to fight against this culture of oppression that has been created in the last 2 years, that is supposed to crush a dissident, to the people obedient to the German reason of state, and that we will show them who is the real Antifa, who is in real opposition to the German state.
Yes, nothing to add to that. Thanks to both of you again for joining. We will put all the links, the relevant links to the Lemkin Institute, I think named after the person who actually coined the term genocide, right? And is a Holocaust survivor. We will also link the Anti-Fascist Handbook. We will link the link to the demonstration, so you can join on Saturday. And if you want to have any, comments, or if you ask any questions here, we also look forward to that and to have a hopefully constructive discourse there. Also, if you want to support Meta 25, the work that we do here with our YouTube channel, but generally on organizing in Germany, go to meta25.de, become a member, leave us a donation, or look at our beautiful program. Until the next episode, thank you so much. Antifa means Free Palestine. Ciao.
Thank you.